I went to school in a huge college town. So there were a lot of young people around all the time. For context, I'm a 5'11" female, slightly overweight, with broad shoulders. So people don't usually mess with me. I do get the occasional creeper that says I'm a tall, cool glass of water or whatever. I lived a few blocks from campus, so it wasn't uncommon for me to walk to and from class. However, one night I had to meet with a group for a class project, and we were out much later than I thought we'd be. So I had to walk alone around 10 p.m. in the dark. I was usually fine on campus, but a block after leaving, I got a gut feeling that something was wrong. I knew there was someone following me. Most of the town was shut down. It was a small Midwest place. Everything closes at 9 p.m. during the week, regularly. There was a pizza place open, but I just passed it. I looked ahead and there were two girls walking with the pizza, carrying it back to their apartment or wherever. I decided it's better to embarrass myself than to become someone's victim. So I yell, "Hey friends, wait up." These girls were total strangers, and they turned around expecting to find a friend of theirs instead of what they saw, a strange girl flagging them down, and behind her, a guy in a hoodie who stopped walking. They both got gut feelings that something wasn't right and decided to play along. "Hey girl, on our way to Brandon's party, you want to walk with us?" I caught up to them and pretended I needed to get something out of my bag. So we stepped to the side. They were both giving me a freaked out look. At that moment, the hooded man passed us with this look of hatred. His eyes burned into mine, and he continued walking. I ended up going to the party with my new friends. Later that night, we got a campus alert message. It said a student had been attacked a few blocks off campus. In the description, matched the guy that was following me. We contacted police, and the guy was eventually caught. I still talk to those girls occasionally, though we live in different parts of the country now. But I am so glad that I never met that man. When I was a teenager, I was goth. Black hair, black clothes, black makeup. Even had a pair of combat boots. My friends and I, in typical goth fashion, hung out at a local cemetery. We started going as a joke, but quickly discovered we liked the peace we found there. That all changed one night. My friend Sarah called to see if I wanted to hang out. None of our other friends were available at the time, so we set out on our own. Sarah picked me up and we drove straight to the cemetery. We sat in our usual spot and did what we usually do. Smoked and chatted about our latest boyfriend drama. Sarah was mid-sentence when her eyes drifted up to the top of the hill we were on. I noticed her effort at an attempt to focus about 100 feet away from us, and I followed her gaze. A bonfire had been lit. You have to understand that this cemetery is about a block off of campus of a major university, and it's not uncommon for college students to go there to party. My friend and I sighed, knowing that we would have to get going soon. It was illegal to be in the cemetery after dark, and we knew the police would show up just because these guys needed a bonfire. We decided we'd finish smoking and then take off. Just then, the most horrible stench came wafting down the hill. Sarah audibly gagged and covered her mouth. I groaned and said, "What the hell?" Sarah shook her head. "I have no idea what they're doing. Come on, let's get out of here." We made our way back to the car without another word. As soon as I shut my door, Sarah looked at me, concern in her eyes. "Maybe we should just go up there and see what they're doing," almost questioning herself as the words left her mouth. My stomach flipped, and a cold shiver went through my body. That feeling must have been mutual. Seemingly all at once, Sarah started the engine, switched on her headlights, threw the car in reverse, and looked over her shoulder before starting to back up. My eyes were fixed, still looking up that hill. There was a quiet but urgent understanding between us that we needed to get the hell out of there, fast. Just then, a figure stepped in front of the bonfire. I could only see a silhouette, but I knew one thing was for sure. Whoever it was watching us. A feeling of terror hit me, and all I could say was, "Go, go, go, go!" getting louder and more panicked with each word. Sarah's eyes darted up the hill. The figure took a step toward us. She slammed on the gas and peeled out, going in reverse all the way down the hill. She ran that gear shift in a drive, and we were out. We sat in silence for a while until she asked, "What the hell were they burning?" I shook my head. "I don't know." No other words were spoken on that ride. She dropped me off at home, and I went to bed. The next morning, I woke up and went downstairs to the kitchen. My mom was there, drinking her morning coffee, so I joined her. We talked about her job for a bit, when suddenly she asked, "Did you hear what happened last night?" I shrugged and said no. I'd just gotten up. She tells me that a woman she worked with was kidnapped from the parking garage yesterday. Oh my gosh, so I was afraid to ask the obvious next question. Did they find her? They did, but it was too late, she replies sadly. Whoever took her assaulted her before ending her life. They found her this morning, up in the cemetery. He tried to dispose of her body in a fire. I froze. My brain was going a mile a minute. My heart dropped into my stomach with realization. That smell. We never hung out at that cemetery again. I often think back to our decision to leave that night and not investigating that fire. We just followed our GothGirl gut instinct. That one decision could have changed everything. And I'll never forget that smell. Dark silhouette in the bonfire. Let's not meet. This happened to me about 3 years ago. I was around 23 at the time. I'm a female, and I live in Brazil. One night, I was coming home from class at about 11 p.m. I had to take the subway for about 12 stops. My destination was at the end of the line for the subway. At that time, there aren't many passengers. I'm a loner anyway. All I need is my headset and my music, and I am good to go. So, after class, I boarded the subway, plugged in my music, and made my way to the furthest seat possible, away from the only 2 other people on the subway that night. Things were going as planned until I noticed some movement out of the corner of my eye. A silhouette approached me and sat right next to me. It was a man. Fairly built, dark hair. He was wearing glasses, a black shirt with a black hoodie, and a sickening smile. He didn't try talking to me, but he did stare at my phone as I browsed through my music. I could hear him breathe heavily, like he was feeling something very strong. I got an extremely creepy vibe, so I decided to switch my seat and go even further back, trying to avoid him without looking like a freak myself. I pick a new chair, sit down, plug my headset in again, and proceed with the remaining 6 stops on my way home. I was halfway there. I took a deep breath and attempted to relax. Seconds later, I see the silhouette moving toward me once again. A cold chill ran up and down my spine as I realized this guy is really sitting right next to me again. With his dead eyes shifting around erratically and grinning from ear to ear, here he was again, staring directly into my phone. I panicked, fully aware there are still 4 stops to go, and I have nowhere to hide. I looked around quickly for the only other person in the subway. I wanted nothing more than to sit with her, hoping it's true that strength does come in numbers. But she is no longer there. I start to tremble, but not enough to allow the creeper to notice me being vulnerable. My heart beating violently in my throat. I stand up, go to the door, and decide to stand until my stop comes. I'm almost there, I thought. If I don't sit, he can't sit next to me, right? Wrong. He comes straight at me, sits on the seat right by the door, and slowly stretches out his legs, blocking my exit. His shifty, dark, dead eyes couldn't see my phone from that angle, so I took that as a plus. At that moment, his evil gaze met mine, and I froze right there, paralyzed. "Hey, gorgeous," he said. "Why are you avoiding me?" I started freaking out inside as I frantically scrolled through my phone, searching for anyone who would be awake at this hour, anyone I could call or text. He stops me by whispering, "I know no one will help you. You would have sent out an SOS message by now. And I know you didn't." I realized he has been focusing on my phone to see who I was talking to, assessing my level of panic, trying to see if I would ask someone for help. He had me cornered. My stop was next. I decided that I'd try to catch him off guard and make a run for the exit. As fast as I could, no looking back. I made it out at the surface, and I didn't see him anymore. I tried to catch my breath while I put my phone in my purse, and realized I had pepper spray on me the whole time. My heartbeat slows back to normal as I repeatedly tell myself that at least I have something to defend myself with. But I know it's still a long way to get home. And who knows if he's alone or not. I took off running for maybe 5 minutes from the subway station, and suddenly felt a hand grip my wrist, hard, jerking me back. Then another hand covering my mouth, disabling me from making any sound. It was him. The same black hoodie, dark-haired, dead-eyed stalker. He furiously snapped, "Running from me? How dare you run away from me? You should be honored I give you attention." I am a fairly built woman, about 175 pounds, almost 5'8". So I guess he thought men didn't find me attractive or something. Like I should feel #blessed that a creep like him stalked and hunted me? Wow. He must have lost his mind. And I'm about to lose mine. My phone is in my bag now. I can't call the police, and I can't reach for the pepper spray. I started to panic and mentally run through my list of last resorts. I can't punch him in the crotch, he's got me twisted up. I can't scratch his creepy dead eyes out, I don't have any nails. Can't scream for help, his hand is still covering my mouth. So, what do I do? Well, I did the most desperate and disgusting thing I could think of to save my life. I played along. I used my other hand to touch his inner thigh and mumbled an "I'm sorry" through his filthy fingers. He took his hand off my mouth, and I quickly repeated, "I'm sorry," and went on to explain that I didn't realize he was flirting with me. He let his guard down and took his hand off my wrist. He asked me for my phone number and address to drop me off, but I redirected, saying I'd rather add him on Facebook. Thankfully, he agreed. I told him I was going to reach for my phone, but I grabbed the pepper spray instead, and I got him good. I sprayed his entire face, and then sprayed some more. I made sure I got it in both his eyes, his nose, his mouth, and even in his ears and on his nasty hands. No mercy. He instantly turned red and started swelling up, suffocating from pepper overload. I called the police, told them what happened and what I did. They asked me if he was immobilized, and I said yes. The police arrived no more than 5 minutes later to see me shaking like a leaf and a man on the ground, swollen like a pumpkin, throwing up and cursing me between gasps of breath. He was arrested that night. The police told me they had been looking for this guy for the past week. They discovered the body of a 24-year-old woman in his apartment. A fairly built lady, 5 feet 9 inches tall, about 165 pounds, with red hair, the same shade as mine. The woman was his girlfriend, and he hadn't been back to the apartment since. I do not know what he wanted to do with me. I try not to think about that. I guess I can understand why he targeted me, though. Due to the similarities, it seems he had a type, but... Stranger in the subway, stalking women at midnight. I hope to God you and I never meet again.